Welcome to the new topic on torsion. So today we are going to talk about torsion of thin wall closed cross section shaft. So in the last lecture we have solved problems on thin wall cross section shaft, but it was open cross section. For example, a C cross section shaft, annular cross section shaft with a slit that you have done for your class test. Okay, so we know how to solve such problem. So we know how to find out the torsional rigidity, how to find out the maximum shear stress, and we have seen it's a pretty easy task to find out the torsional properties and torsional analysis of such thin walled cross section shaft but open cross section. Okay, we have not ventured into closed cross section shaft. So what we are going to do is going to move ahead and see how to solve thin wall cross section shaft but closed. Okay, so we are going to study about torsion of thin wall cross section shaft but closed. Okay, that's important. So we are going to use the same membrane analogy that we have used previously to solve this problem. Okay, so now let us see how to proceed. So this is the cross section of the shaft under torsion. Okay, so this is the cross section. This is the thickness T. Which can vary. Okay, the cross section T does not need to be uniform like an annular ring or something. It could vary, but the only criteria is that this thickness T has to be sufficiently small than the other dimension of the shaft, of the cross section of the shaft. Okay, that's the only criteria. Now let us see how we are going to solve this problem using membrane analogy. Okay, so this one is the analogous membrane. Okay, so the same criteria that we have studied about membrane analogy earlier still holds here. So the criteria number 1 is that the shape of the membrane is same as that of the shape of the cross section. Okay, so though it might not be looking very same, but this one and this one has same cross section. Okay, and the second criteria is that the membrane, the analogous membrane, is supported on the outer edge. So this edge, this outer edge, like in previous case, is supported so that there is no out of plane deformation. Okay, and then this is the second criteria. The third criteria is that an in-plane tensile force N per unit length is acting on the outer edge of the membrane. Okay, and then the fourth criteria is that a uniform pressure Q is acting on the membrane. So all over the membrane, a uniform pressure Q by area is acting. Okay, so this is the fourth criteria. Now comes a new criteria that has to be included when we are using membrane analogy for closed cross section shaft. The fifth criteria is that this hollow space, okay, this hollow region is considered to be a flat plate in the analogous membrane. So this is a flat plate. Okay, so let me reiterate, the new thing that gets added up when we are using membrane analogy for understanding the torsion of thin wall cross-section shaft, the hollow portion of the shaft is replaced by a flat plate in the analogous membrane. Okay, the one that is showed by the shaded portion, and the pressure Q is also acting on the flat plate. So the same pressure Q is acting on the hollow plate. Q by area is acting on the flat plate. Okay. So now if this is the membrane, then let us see how the deformed shape of the membrane is going to look like. So let me try to draw the deformed shape in the X-jet plane. Okay, so this is going to be the deformed shape of the membrane, right? And we can see that the pressure Q by area is acting all over the deflected shape of the membrane. Now see, we have, so it has the same height, so let H be this height. Let us call this as H. It is the same height in each part. Okay, right? So because uniform pressure is being applied. Now this is going to be the deformed shape of the membrane under the forces that are acting on the membrane, including the boundary condition. Okay, now let us try to understand what does the criteria or what does the condition of thin wall, how is the condition thin wall is going to help us. Okay, let us see that. Okay, so let me try to draw another figure. Okay, so now what I do is that since the wall of the cross section, the thickness of the wall of the cross section is thin or small, this nonlinear slope of the actual deformed shape of the membrane can very easily be approximated as a linear slope. Okay, let me reiterate that this is the actual deformation. And this is the approximated deformation. Okay, so what, so this is also going to be H. Okay, so what we do is that the actual deformed shape, which is going to have a nonlinear or quadratic like deformation, right, of the membrane, here that deformation is approximated as a linear deformation. Okay, so this approximation we can do, and this approximation is a good approximation only because the thickness ts is very small as compared to the other dimension of the cross section. Now what happens, some very nice thing happens when you make this small approximation. Now let me just clean this board and go to a new. Okay, so this is the approximated deformed shape of the membrane. Now let us see what does the slope of the deformed membrane means. Okay, the slope of the deformed membrane, if we go back to what we have studied, if we try to recall, slope of the deformed membrane is dw by dn, where w is the deformation, n is the normal coordinate. And we know that this is analogous to d phi by dn, where phi is the stress function. And d phi by dn is nothing but the tau, which is the shear stress resultant at the point in tangential direction. Okay, so now as soon as we make this approximation of uniform slope or a linear deformation, we can say that from membrane analogy that the stress here tau is going to be h by t2, and here tau is going to be h by t, tau 1. Okay, where h is the depth of the deformed membrane, or the depth by which the membrane deforms, and ts is the thickness of the membrane at that location. Okay, so you can see the part of the membrane which is much thicker is going to have a lower slope, while the part of the membrane which is thinner is going to have a higher slope. Okay, so we can from this membrane analogy we can say that the shear stress in the cross section, in the cross section can be written as h by t1, or in general tau is going to be h by ts. Okay, so we get a very simple geometric relation between the shear stress, the height of the deformed membrane, and the thickness at that location. Now this is the first thing that we get. Okay, the second thing that we get, because of this approximation of linear deformation or constant slope, we can say tau, or the resultant shear stress, which is equal to the slope of deformation, is going to be constant over the thickness, or it is not going to vary along the thickness direction of the membrane or of the cross section analogously. So, right, so first thing that we get is tau is equal to h by ts. The second thing that we get because of this approximation is that shear stress can be assumed to be constant in the thickness direction. Okay, and this is a good assumption. I mean, it is not a bad assumption, because the cross section is thin. We can make this assumption very well, and this is going to work fine. Okay, now let us see the third point that we derive from this analogy. So we know that the torque applied to the shaft from membrane analogy can be equated to twice the volume enclosed by the deformed membrane with the xy plane, right? So the applied torque, let me write it. Torque mt can be written as twice into the area into h. This is equal to volume, and A is the mean area, okay, or the area enclosed by the center line of the membrane. Okay, so we can say this. Now if we can say this, we can further say that mt is going to be 2a. H can be replaced as tau into ts. Okay, and this can further be written as 2 into a into qs, where qs is nothing but, this is qs, and qs is called the shear flow. Okay, so there is an interesting thing about the shear flow. So what is shear flow? Shear flow is equal to the product of the shear stress and the thickness of the shaft cross section at that location. Now you see what is qs. So qs, so let me clear this. So I can write mt is equal to twice into area into tau into ts. Okay, so what I am doing is I am writing this as 2a into qs, where qs is called the shear flow. Okay, now what is qs? Qs is mt by 2 into area. Okay, so mt by 2 into area. So mt is constant for a given problem. Mt is the applied torque, so it is constant for a given problem. So this is applied torque. Right, and 2a is the mean area enclosed by the cross section. Cross section you can call as the membrane also in xy plane. Okay, so mt is 1 for a given problem. Mt is a single value for a given problem. Now a is also constant for a given shaft. So qs cannot be a function of s. So this has to be q. Okay, so therefore we can say that for a shaft under a given applied torque, the shear flow is uniform all along the cross section and it does not vary with s. It is a constant value. What is shear flow? Let me repeat. Shear flow is the product of the shear stress and the thickness of the cross section at that point. Okay, and we see that though the shear stress can be a function of s, the thickness can be a function of s, but the product of the two, which is called the shear flow, is not going to vary for a closed cross section thin walled shaft under a given applied torque. Okay, this is a very important thing. So this you should be thoroughly acquainted with and understand that shear flow is a parameter or is a variable which is going to remain constant all along the cross section of the shaft of a thin wall closed cross section shaft. Okay, though it is coming from an approximation, but that's a good approximation, so we don't mind that approximation. So it's going to be different from the real accurate analysis by a very small percentage if the cross section is truly thin wall cross section. Okay, now so therefore we have two equations to remember. One is tau is going to be h by ts. 2 mt is going to be 2a into h, and third, which is derived from this two, is q, which is tau s into ts is equal to mt by 2a. Okay, now we need another criteria. Okay, so see, nowhere your angle of twist has been equated to the applied torque, okay, or the shear stress. Okay, so there must be another criteria. So this criteria is given by something called as the Brett-Bateau theorem. Okay, so it states that for the uniqueness of the solution that we have achieved, okay, so for uniqueness, of the solution, the integral of shear stress over ds has to be equal to 2 GA theta, where A is again same, the mean area enclosed by the cross section in XY. Okay. So it is going to be 2GA theta. Theta is rate of twist, and this is called the Brett-Patho theorem. This theorem is derived from the condition of uniqueness of the solution. Okay, I'm not going into, though we have derived how the previous two equations have been achieved, but I am not going into the derivation of this because the derivation is a bit complicated. So those who are interested might look into the book by Timoshenko and Goodyear. The chapter on torsion has a nice explanation. So what happens is that the solution from the equilibrium equation, as I have told to some of you before, does not provide a uniqueness of the solution. So there has to be another criteria to guarantee the uniqueness of the solution. Okay. The previous two equation guarantees the equilibrium of the problem, satisfies the equilibrium condition, but does not guarantee the uniqueness of the solution. So to achieve the uniqueness of the solution, this expression is essential. Okay, and from analysis point of view, this expression gives you the relation between the angle of twist and the shear stress, which is eventually going to give you the torsional rigidity expression. Okay, so let me try to further look how this equation looks like. So I have tau ds is equal to 2GA theta. So now in place of tau ds, I can always write this as mt by 2a by ds by ds is equal to 2GA theta. Okay, so therefore g theta, right, so we can always write this. So therefore g theta, or for g theta can actually be written as mt by 4a square ds by d. So this relation is going to give me the torsional rigidity as well. This is going to give me the torsional rigidity. Okay, right? So for uniform cross section, with uniform thickness, so for cross section with uniform thickness, we can say that g theta is going to be mt. Thickness is uniform, so I have 4a square t and ds. So that is going to give me mts 4a square into t, where s is the length of the of the center line of the cross section, or basically the circumferential length of the cross section. Okay, so right, so now that we have done a lot of derivation, so there are three things. Let me just try to summarize the main equation that you need to remember. So let me just quickly summarize. Okay, the first thing that you need to remember is tau is going to be h by ts, tau s. Second is mt is going to be 2a into h. Okay. Third is shear flow q, which is tau s into ts, is mt by 2a, and therefore a constant for a given problem. Okay, so this is called the shear flow, right? So this is third one. So the fourth one is Bret-Bethe theorem, which is tau ds is 2ga theta. This is the Bret-Bethe theorem. And the fifth is that the shear stress tau s does not vary along thickness. Okay, so these are the 5 points that can be thought as the summary of what we have done. Okay, so with this module gets over. In the next module, we are going to solve certain problems on the torsion of thin wall closed cross section shaft. So thank you.